Welcome to the Eversio Experience podcast. I'm Brandy Garden, the co-founder here at Eversio Wellness, and I'm here with my co-host, Dr. Desiree Caruso, naturopathic physician.
Mushrooms are symbols of interconnectedness, and we're so excited to connect you with the health, wellness, and wisdom that they have brought us on our journey to this moment. We believe mushrooms are critical to the maintenance of our physical well-being and our collective mental health.
Yes, our ancestors had deep cultural connections to mushrooms, but today they remain understudied, undervalued, and often misunderstood by much of modern society, and we are here to change that. Eversio means change, and it's our mission to change lives through fungi.
There's a mushroom for every moment.
And we're so glad that you're here to share this moment with us. And now, let's dive into the episode.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. Today's conversation is one that I know so many of you need right now, especially if you've been feeling tired, overwhelmed, burnt out, or like your body just isn't responding the way it used to. We're joined by Amy Kapeller, also known as Unbridled Holistic Health. Amy is an integrative and functional nutrition specialist with advanced training in women's health and autoimmunity. She's the founder of Unbridled Holistic Health, a functional nutrition practice where she supports women in healing hormones, overcoming burnout, and naturally managing chronic illness. Amy, thank you so much for being here. We are so grateful to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. We definitely have, we've been trying for this for a while, so it's nice to be on.
I love it. Okay, so to start us off, for anybody who is new to your work, can you share a little bit about your story, what led you into holistic nutrition and, this focus on food as medicine?
Totally. So I have a long story, but just to kind of, keep it in time considerations here, I believe it is truly functional health and food and lifestyle that has saved my life this far. From a very young age, my health, I've always had these different health concerns. And it started with anxiety and a lot of gut health. And that's kind of when I first dove into functional health, functional nutrition, looking at that approach. So at the time, I was actually a school teacher. And I was teaching pre-kindergarten and kindergarten. So lots of busyness and lots of fun in that world too. But I just, my gut health was such a mess and I was getting anxiety. And the more I learned, the more I realized the power of food. And then once I got certified and I started my own practice and my practice unfolded, I watched food also heal other women as well. And then more recently, it's been discovered after years and years of what I call mystery symptoms that I've been living with a very serious and very rare genetic chronic disease, which would have been present since birth. And so rare, it's like 1 in 1 million people. I've been told it's progressive. I've been told it's untreatable. I've been told there's no cure. And essentially that I should be in a wheelchair at this point in my life. And so yes, my body and my life has obviously been shifting and changing with this, right? As this progresses, I also honestly cannot even imagine where I would be if I didn't know how to put my body first and if I hadn't taken care of my body the way that I have over the past how many years, right? So honestly, I'd be in the hospital. I'd be maybe in a wheelchair. I don't even know. But this whole journey with this genetic stuff and, just my body being able to do what she can still do, this is when my true belief for food and lifestyle medicine was set into stone even deeper. As well, I will say, as the belief that our bodies, they are always capable of healing.
Yeah.
Yes. I wrote a book about that.
Yes.
I actually we follow Amy on social media. That is how we know her. She's a bit of a mushroom nerd like us, and we've just crossed paths a few times in different ways. And I felt like I knew all of your story, and I actually didn't know that. So are you willing to share with us what this genetic piece looks like for you? Are you willing to share more of that personal story?
Totally, I can. So, honestly, not a lot of people knew this piece of it. And it's a pretty new piece, even to me. I spent the last 8 years navigating the medical system and specialists and tests and loops and holes and you know, majority of the lab work would always come back normal, right? Like there's always that piece, but my body was massively depleting. And so I was actually, they figured out genetically that I have the disease causing gene for myopathic EDS. So Ehlers-Danlos, which in itself, so this is the variant, right? EDS is a genetic connective tissue disorder. And then there's these different variants of this disease. And I did when they, I've always been super, super hypermobile, super flexible. Like I have all of those components, which in itself is enough, right? The stuff that comes with that, the mast cells, we have no idea how important our connective tissue is. And then we add on to that, now there's the myopathic, the muscle component of this, right? And that's where it gets really scary and that's where it gets really rare and really serious. And so I've been navigating that component. And sometimes it's almost like, we know all the things we should do for muscle and it's not the same in these cases.
That's
And
it.
that's
Everyone's
where,
so different. And I
yeah,
love that you're telling the story. Like we have genes that we can't always identify. And I love that science has come to a place where you actually have a name.
yeah,
And I think some people need that. They need to be able to close the chapter that is the mystery chapter and then not let it be identifying of you. And I love that that's what you're doing because you're not identified by it. We feel like we knew you and we didn't even have that name. But I'm so grateful that you shared it because someone out there listening, if you're out there listening and you're living in a mystery, having the name of it doesn't make it go away, but it
no,
can make you feel like, Amy, look at what you have done. Like how proud you must be of yourself that intuitively you already were healing yourself before you had a word to know what to heal. It just makes me so excited for the journey that you're on. And it's so clear that you're on the right path and how many people you will help along the way. And you're
well,
not in a
thank you.
wheelchair.
And you know what? Like another piece to that too, just really quickly is I feel like, getting a name, beautiful, great. That name it's literally a name for a set of
Yeah.
symptoms is all it is.
Yep. Yep.
However, now, just it's knowledge for me, it's power for
Yes.
me because now I'm like,
Yes.
okay, I'm actually not going to go do the workout or the squats that you guys are going to do because that is going to massively, the myopathy in my body is really present in the lower body.
Yeah.
And so I've been losing and losing and losing it, unable to restore. But this whole time I've been like, oh, well, I should be doing, these practices for muscle, for growth, for whatever. And it's complete opposite to what my body needs.
Yes.
So that is where now that name is just giving me more power to figure out how to heal and stop progression.
Love
That
it.
also being said, because it is so rare, there's no research on this disease at all. Like this variant, there's no research on EDS hardly, let alone this specific variant and the way it impacts our organs. That's a big concern. Our heart, our intestines, these are all muscle. They're all connective
Yeah.
tissue. So there is organ involvement in my body that's happening. That being said, there's no research on it. So I don't feel like when someone tells me there's no cure, there is no treatment. Yeah, of course there's not because there's, no one that has this and there's no research on it. So when they told me I have to be 1 in a million, I'm like, heck yes, I will be that 1 in a million that finds how we are going to stop progression of this rare disease, right?
Yep.
I will be that research. So
Get it,
long story
girl.
short, my family is going through genetic research stuff. I'm part of a research project with the genetic team, which I have obviously had to say yes to, but I'm very willing to do that because I will not only heal myself, I will help heal others in the future, but I will also, this is my chance to help bridge Western and functional medicine together.
Love that. Love that. I have full body goosebumps as you're
Me
saying
too.
that
Me too.
because heck yeah, you having this diagnosis is, validation of okay, I've had these mystery symptoms. This makes sense, but now bring it on.
Yeah.
You're doing this. Yeah, you're
One of
doing
the
this.
first things Dr. Desiree said to me, so I also have dealt, like my genes are not, I didn't win the lottery in the gene
Yeah.
pool, but, to be defined or not defined by that to me is a choice. And Dr. Desiree, early on, we started working together, said to me this thing we all say, genes load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. And the first time I heard it, it kind of passed over me. And as it has sat with me, that comes up, and it comes up again for me right now. We don't necessarily have to express the genes that we are given in a way that a textbook or lack of research in this case might present for other people. We have so much more power than we think we do when we are willing to learn about ourselves and block out the noise of what's not for us. So much of it comes to intuition, which is what I hear you saying. And
Mhm.
then to offer yourself to education, to research. I also was in a clinical trial, and it wasn't, it didn't last long for me. But I learned so much about so much of myself in that, and feel like I contributed to what other people will be able to experience going forward, that it's part of the human experience. It's an act of service in so many ways. So I'm so excited for the rest of the conversation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool, Amy, because it's, all of the things that you've already been doing and that you are doing for your clients and the people that you are serving to help with their health. You're living that yourself. And one of the biggest tools that we have in health in general really is food. Right? You talk a lot about food as medicine. And I think for some people, they've heard that, but they don't really know what that means exactly. And I think you are somebody who can really speak to that. For someone hearing that phrase for the first time, food as medicine, what does that actually mean in everyday life?
Yeah. So for me, like this whole thing honestly has completely changed my view on so many things, but definitely on like our bodies and healing and what food mean, like, what food actually is. Because like I said, maybe I can't cure this disease that I live with daily. But it does not mean, and this makes me emotional every time I talk about it. So I'm very sorry if I get emotional, but this
Don't
does not
be.
mean that I can't still live that life with energy and strength and vitality and confidence and doing what I want to do. My life has massively shifted. For sure it has. Over the past few years, my body is in an anabolic state. I need to work to stop that progression. But that is my goal. And I would not practice the way that I practice today if it wasn't for my own journey. Right? And food and lifestyle has been my number one form of medicine from the very beginning because there's been nothing offered. Even the medical system at this point was like, we don't even have a medication for you. And that's when, to
It's
me, it
okay. You
gets
don't need it anyway, sister.
exactly, right? I'm like, not that I would have taken it. However, like food and lifestyle had to be my number one medicine. And the way I think about it is this, and anyone listening, our bodies, they show up for us every single day, no matter what they're dealing with. My poor little body has been fighting a disease since birth, and I didn't know that. Good Lord, the least I can do is provide the best form of support that I can, remove as many of the stressors and the imbalances that I can so my body can function how she is designed to function every single day, right? These diseases, these symptoms, they are just caused by systems, sorry. The symptoms are caused by systems that are out of balance in our body. And they all work together. If one is going to be impacted, they're all going to be impacted. And so when we can uncover what those imbalances are and give the resources, AKA food, right? This is where true healing can actually come at, no matter what stage you're at. Our bodies are really designed to heal themselves, and we just need to address that root of it. And so, I guess, yeah, like to answer that question, first of all, I want to say that food gives you the power to be in control of your own health. No
Yes.
one else is in control of your health, right? And we when we look at health from a functional perspective, we're not picking out one thing and specializing it. That's to me what the medical system is doing, maybe not so supportive, is like systemizing the body versus
Yep.
systemically looking at the body,
Yes.
right? And so food works at a systemic level. When I say food is medicine, I'm not talking about replacing doctors and medications or any of that. I'm literally talking about, like I said, giving the body those resources that it needs on its own and simply working with the body on the same team. And so
Yes.
every single time we eat, we have the chance to number one, contribute to disease, or number two, provide nutrients to heal disease in a balance. And that is our choice. Food is literally, there's so much, food is such a big topic. There's so much emotion, there's so much tied to
Yes.
food. And all it is information that gets our systems to work. It's like, I'm not going to drive somewhere today if my car has no fuel, no oil, and I haven't lifted the hood in 3 years.
Yeah.
Right? I always picture like my dad or my husband out there with like the hood above their car,
Yeah.
and yet they're doing all these beautiful things. But I'm like, hey, did you actually eat a real nutrient today? Like, come on,
Yeah,
guys.
or just think about it. It's as you're talking, I'm thinking of the phrase mindful eating that we hear so often these days. And I don't know if people really understand what it means, but that's exactly what you're describing. It's you you pause and you think before you get in your car. Do I have enough gas? Is everything working? But we don't often enough maybe pause and think before we put that thing in our mouth. And very much like you, is this causing disease or curing disease? It takes a second. It's a pause and a think that make that massive difference before it's everything's a choice. And I love
Yes.
how you tie that food is this universal thing. We all have to eat. We're all gonna have to eat, but you get to choose what you're eating. And it comes down to me to education of, there are lots of things available to us. And just because it's sold in a grocery store doesn't mean it's food.
Yes. And it's just learning to use food. There's when food as medicine sounds so scary. It's like, oh my
It
goodness,
does.
it's going to be
Yeah.
overwhelming. It's going to be
It's gonna
like,
taste like medicine.
yes.
It's gonna be gross if you're calling it medicine, it's gonna taste bad. We have
And
to
it's,
tell that story differently.
yes, it's not all superfoods. It's not all supplements. It's not
Yeah.
all lengthy protocols. It's literally learning to use food in intentional ways,
Yes.
right? To use food intentionally to give your body the resources it needs. And it starts with those very foundations. It's the boring things, right? It doesn't need to be complicated. And that's where I see a lot of confusion coming in today's world. You know, it's starts with is the food you're eating living, swimming, or growing? Like, if it
Mm.
wasn't living, swimming, or growing, I feel like it's probably processed in some way,
Yeah, we shouldn't
right?
call it food. Who decided
Yes,
that you could call the things that aren't food because
exactly.
they're created by humans in a factory with chemicals, and that should not be like, I don't know what Webster says if we looked it up right now, but it's not food.
No,
So maybe that's the pause and think. Maybe that's the thought that's an easy thought to add is this thing, if you can't go to, is this curing disease or causing disease, could you even just ask, is this actually food? And I love that way to define it.
yeah.
Say it again. Did it?
Living, swimming, growing. Like, obviously, like, and put it into perspective because, again, the world is hard sometimes to do these things. So, like, let's think. Let's take a potato or a potato chip.
Right.
Okay? The potato, you're not going to get much closer to how you got that from the ground. Like,
Yes.
we all have to buy stuff in stores, so we have to give ourselves some grace.
Yeah.
That being said, that potato chip isn't even a potato anymore,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
wild rice or the rice pasta. Like, I mean, there's a lot of processes that have to happen to get these foods to these other forms. And so that's when I say food is medicine, like that is the place that we start, like just right there, right? And then it's how do we actually simply add these things into your everyday life? Because that's
Yeah.
where it gets, again, we're all living these busy, beautiful lives. And so, how can we add these things to your life? Then, and only then, once you have those things in place, do we go deeper and more therapeutic, right? Only after the foundations
Mhm.
are in place. And then maybe we do specific foods for blood sugar, for stress, for inflammation, for gut health, for myopathy in my case, right? For connective
Mhm.
tissue. Like once we have these other, like we talked about, the root cause is very important and the body's all working together. Once we
Mhm.
know what systems are out of balance, that are maybe contributing, and you already are stabilizing your nervous system with those foundations. You're getting the nutrients in for your system from whole foods, then we can go deeper,
Yeah.
right? There's
Yeah.
foods that can balance your blood sugar. There's foods that can calm your nervous system or stimulate it. There's foods that can help to metabolize hormones, or some foods are proven to help heal gut infections like H. pylori, right? There's foods that increase
Yeah.
mast cell activation and histamine in the body, but there's also foods that provide the enzyme to break that down. So that's where it
Yeah.
gets, more therapeutic for each person. But food
Mhm.
as medicine doesn't start there. It doesn't start with supplements. Supplements are
Yeah.
beautiful. I love superfoods, but they are there to supplement
Supplement.
the work that we're
Yeah.
doing. And I see right now,
Yeah.
oh goodness, like I have so many poor ladies coming to me. And I swear, if I was like in their kitchen, they would just pull out this nice basket of like full of supplements that they've
Yes.
tried, they've been told, maybe even recommended from a practitioner. But they're like, I still feel moody. I'm still bloated. I still have PMS. I'm still stressed as heck. I'm still
Mhm.
not sleeping. Like, I'm energy crashing. I'm like, yeah, because we are missing the part that comes before those supplements,
That's it. We
right?
talk about
Mhm.
so often how supplements are one thing pulled out of food, often, apart
Mhm.
from the hundreds of other compounds that would have been included with them at the same time. And our
Yes.
body was never meant, in the mushroom world, we call it the entourage effect. So
Yeah.
when we consume, let's say, lion's mane, you're getting hundreds of compounds in a lion's mane mushroom. Beta glucans are one of them that are awesome for your immune system. Well, we know that when we eat them, we're getting some. We do an extraction process to concentrate that without removing the other stuff. But then it goes further than that. And there are companies out there, pharmaceutical companies, that will just give you the beta glucans. Like, well, if that's the compound that's doing the work, we'll just give people that. And then we have to pull back and go, wait, wait, wait. And that's why I always think we're not a supplement company. We're
No.
a
Oh,
food
goodness.
company. We're
Yeah.
giving it to people in a concentrated way because people have been trained to not want to eat some foods. Mushrooms is one of them. Green things is another one. We have these mental blocks around whole groups of foods that people like, oh, I don't eat. I mean, I have people in my life that say I don't eat vegetables. And I'm like, oh my word, how did we get here? What do you eat then?
Oh,
What do you
goodness.
eat?
The amount
um,
of
Yeah.
women even that have like came into my practice saying, I don't like vegetables. I'm like, well, we're going to have to learn to like them because your
thank
body
you.
needs them, right? Like, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
ladies, if you don't like vegetables,
Plants.
we're going to find a way.
Yeah.
Why is it that you think so many women or people in general feel confused or overwhelmed when it comes to food and health right now? Is it that the supplement industry has influenced that? Like, what is it? Is it that we've forgotten that nourishing our body is a foundational piece of health and it's part of being human?
I
Like, what
think
is it?
because there's so much information overload, to be honest. Because if
Mm.
we go on to Instagram or YouTube, like anything, there's so much information out there. Like, and it's a really beautiful thing. And I think it's great that people can get endless information, on how to take care of themselves. But again, then yes, we're pushing all these extras and we're missing the foundations.
Yeah.
And so we have women
Yeah.
trying to do all the things, right? Literally all the things. And but we're actually like not even eating breakfast and we're not stabilizing our blood sugar and we're not breathing, we're not sleeping. So
Yeah.
I think that there's so much information and information is great. And the reason there's so much is because we're all different. So something has worked for every person.
Yeah.
And now there's keto and now there's paleo and now there's all these things because for some bodies, that works, but not for all bodies.
Yes.
And we're trying to umbrella
Mhm.
this instead of, using that personalized piece of health. And that is why I'm so passionate about like, there is no one size fits all. There's no one perfect food
Yeah.
for everybody.
It's almost like we need to teach discernment before we teach the actual nutrition piece or the whatever the holistic approach someone is looking for, wherever we're starting with them, let's first teach you discernment because you're going to go on social media. We're in it, and we've all taken breaks. Dr. Desiree encouraged me to do a major digital detox for about a month in the fall, and it was mind-blowing for me. If you haven't done it out there in our audience, I highly recommend it. And during that month when you're off, work on your discernment. Like, when I go back on, I'm going to go back on differently, and I'm going to listen to what makes sense for me intuitively rather than just scrolling and hearing the next great thing and assuming that's what I need. And if you know what you're looking for, you will find the things that actually make sense for you versus just being a wide open slate to panic mode, fight or flight, and anybody that says that something made them feel better, that's for sure going to make me feel better. I promise you, it's not a thing. And audience, so that you know, Amy lives on a farm. Amy has always lived on a farm, and perhaps that's the gift that you have grown up in a world where you actually do believe that plants because you've been around that world. And not to say we shouldn't eat animals. I'm not saying one way or the other. Eat what you want as long as you're eating enough plants to give you the package. And I think we can go into this further, but our belief is that diversity of plants that you're getting in our house, it's 30 a week. Like, I have a kid who literally has a checkbox. If you're not getting 30 in a week, there's likely a bug that lives in you that should be your friend that's not getting fed and having the party it needs to have to go get lucky and have more babies to create the microbiome that is going to create the whole system. Like you were saying, this is the beginning in the gut of all the things. And no, there's no arguing it anymore. All of the good research shows us. If you want your brain to be healthy, your gut needs to be healthy. If you want your heart to be healthy, your gut needs to be healthy. If you want all of the genetic stuff that might cause you trouble to have the least amount of flair, we can call it, you need your gut to be happy. We can't get away from it. And that means that you have to understand what food is and what it means for you to be eating things that are healing to you. So I love that.
I also think too, like part of this is like you need to know your own body, and that's the missing piece. Maybe you are on social media, but if you know what works for you, and maybe you can't, you don't, you're like, I don't know, I'm not educated in this. So, hey, like, that's why there's people out there like us that can help you do that, because you need to know your body and what works for you. And then you can start to filter out, hey, like, okay, obviously for me, going on Instagram and I see do this, do that for muscle, but that's not for me. Right. But I know my body.
Yeah.
I know my root cause. And yes, then I can add the things in. And when it comes to food, I'm all about balance. Diversity of food or plants and diversity of color, diversity of different, supportive meats, diversity of all the things.
Yeah.
And and again, it's our bodies are always shifting. So what works right now might not work for you in 5 years because your body is shifting and changing. We are cyclical beings, meaning we have to honor that. And food is one way, but the only way you're going to learn to honor that is if you get to learn how to listen to your body, get to know your body, and let go of the information overload that we are being given.
Amen.
Yeah. What I'm hearing from you is that you are helping women shift their mindset and perspective from fear and restriction with food and aspects of health into trust and nourishment. And is that a big piece for you with working with these women is know your body and listen, and then you're going to know what is good for it and have that level, like Brandy said, of discernment and go from there and figure out what's
Totally.
best.
So, I'm all about let's add things, not restrict them. There's enough
Yes.
restriction in this world
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
instead of me going like, hey, let's remove all those inflammatory foods or let's remove all those foods that aren't living, swimming, growing. No, let's just add in more foods that are living, swimming, growing to start with.
Yeah.
And let's tune into how your
Yeah.
body responds to these shifts. When women first come to me, and And we're looking at the systems. The first thing we do is look at the systems of the body, right? What is contributing to imbalance? Is it the blood sugar metabolism, the nervous system? Is it your adrenals and your body's stress bucket? Is it digestion and absorption, liver and detox, mitochondrial health, hormones? Like, what does this look like? And I'll be very honest, 10 out of 10 times, it's not just one system because our bodies don't work in isolated systems. Just like we talked about, we work
Mhm.
systemically. So,
Especially by the time they come to you, because most people aren't willing to listen to the whispers and they are waiting until their body's shouting at them. And by then, it's not one system anymore. Where if we did know, if you're listening to this episode and you're like, no, I actually feel great. Well, now you have the advantage that you're going to get a whisper one day, right? We're not built, this body is not built to live forever. That's not the reality. So as we age, if you're willing to listen and go to Amy or to Dr. Des or whoever it is that you're going to see earlier. And I think that's such a important thing to note is that as women, especially, we wait too long. We quietly handle challenges that we don't need to because we're busy taking care of others, or we don't want to feel like whiners, or we don't want to go into a doctor's office and be treated the way women have been treated
I was just
for
going to say,
centuries. And
or right, like they've been, maybe you already, I can almost guarantee probably everyone listening has whispers. We just don't
yeah,
know how that we think they're normal.
that's it.
They've been labeled normal in society, number
Yeah,
one, or you've been told by a doctor, oh, it's normal. Labs are fine.
yeah,
Right. So yes, there's those whispers there, and we have to make sure we're understanding those. Once we get that picture, right, then, yeah, let's add things in. Let's
yes,
tune into how your body responds. Like every single client that comes into my practice, they are in the driver's seat. I'm there guiding them and helping them, but they are the driver because they are living in that body, right? And I find when I help them understand, well, why are we making this change? Why do we want to add more vegetables even though you hate vegetables? And when they understand why, they're more apt to do it, number one. And number two, when they start to feel that shift in their
yes,
body, which equals a shift in their life. I mean, why do we take care of ourselves? So we can live life and show up the way we want to.
yes.
I mean, I'm not taking care of my body so I can die the healthiest person in this planet. Right? Like, I'm doing this because I wanna live, I wanna do the
You wanna
things.
dance. Yes,
Yeah, like, let's go. I'm not gonna be in a
yes,
wheelchair, right?
yes,
I wanna drive my horses and ride my horses and do the things,
yes,
go on trips with my husband. If I wanna
yes,
do that, hey, I gotta be healthy. Our
yep,
health is our greatest asset of life. So, when we can help women understand that, I think that's where that, like, we move away from the fear and the restriction and come into trusting and nourishing our own bodies.
I love that. Okay, you've talked a lot about the foundations, on starting with the foundations and really optimizing things for women and adding things in as opposed to restriction. So for those listening who are curious about these foundational shifts, like what are the core foundations that you look at first when someone comes to you?
Totally. So it's those systems. Number one, blood sugar, nervous system, digestion and absorption, liver and detox, and your hormones, right? And I would argue blood sugar is probably the most foundational, especially for women, because
Yeah.
I think of this
Yeah.
pyramid. So I think of, those systems all working together in a pyramid. Now, while they all do affect each other, hormones specifically are kind of at the top of that pyramid. So if we are only focusing on like foods for hormones, HRT, all these things that
Yeah.
we're throwing at hormones, that's great. But your hormones are the engine light on your car, and they are reacting to those underneath levels of that pyramid: metabolism, blood sugar, digestion, absorption, liver, detox, stress, adrenals, right? All of these
I love that
things
yeah,
analogy.
are impacting these hormones. So we have to climb to the top of that pyramid, right? And if our blood sugar
Yeah.
is not stable, our nervous system does not feel safe, nothing else above that
Mhm.
can be impacted,
Yes.
right?
Yes. We need
Yeah, you're
you
speaking our language.
that like we have shown the hormone hierarchy, but
Yep,
we've shown it so many times
yep,
and we've explained it differently. I have never heard it explained like that. I love that. I want everybody to rewind
love.
10, 15 seconds, press that button on
Yeah,
your whatever podcast app you're on and hear that again. Insulin and cortisol are sitting at the bottom.
Yes.
If you do not have that solid foundation, forget everything up above. And when we started taking
mhm,
mushrooms seriously, both Dr. Desiree and I mean, we know each other well enough, I can say it for her too, 4 years ago,
mhm,
and things started to shift.
mhm,
We actually didn't even know why. And as we have read more
mhm.
research and done more, we think we're affecting estrogen, progesterone. We're not.
No.
We are affecting the base, the
Yeah,
insulin, the cortisol, the things that are creating the foundation that are allowing other things to trickle in. And I'm not saying mushrooms are the answer to everything, but it's probably why, I mean, they're one of the, you know, they're growing.
Yeah.
They are growing, and
mhm,
it's something that for me, for Dr. Des, for some people could be a thing. So I love that you're explaining it from a forget, and that's the social media. They're just hearing about
Yes.
estrogen dominance, and that must be the thing. So I'll just work on estrogen. But if you're ignoring
yeah.
these down here, you might get a little effect quickly here or there, but you are at some point going to have to look at that. I love your analogy.
Yeah. And I do think
Mhm,
mushrooms are a food as medicine tool, right? Because all of them work at the nervous system level,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
yeah. Yep. That and I think that's I mean, Brandy and I talk about this all the time and especially cyclical living. So Brandy, it's funny you mentioned the hormone hierarchy because I'm like picturing it
Yes.
from our cyclical living protocol and like, yes, this is what we've been talking about. But I think that's why functional mushrooms are so helpful for a lot of people, especially a lot of women who come to us and they, are experiencing these hormonal symptoms. It's because that's, on their dashboard in their car, that's the light, the check engine light for their hormones, but it's actually they need some nervous
Oh,
system regulation. Their body is just out of whack with cortisol and their blood sugar and that's what's causing it. That's under
Yeah.
the hood of
Yeah, and
what's
starting
going on.
a gluten-free vegan diet is not going to change your
Yeah.
nervous system. I
no.
said this, right at
No.
the new year when
Yeah.
everyone around me is starting a new diet. But they're so stressed out
Yeah.
and they're so dysregulated, and I already can foresee they're going to put in all of this effort and really challenge themselves to not experience change over and over and over again because they're missing the precursor, which
Yeah.
is get your blood sugar regulated, get your nervous system regulated, and now make the changes you want to look at body recomposition, whatever that means for them. And why are we missing that? Like, how is
And
that story not being told? Because they don't know you, Amy.
ladies, if you're listening, you're like, I want body composition changes. Do you know what? The number one hormone that is stopping you from doing that is insulin and cortisol.
Yeah,
Like, let's forget the diets and the fads and
yeah.
the whatever and come back to those foundations. Eat all the protein you want. If your nervous system is in a fight or flight state, your gut's not absorbing that protein. It's doing nothing.
Yes.
Like, there's so many pieces there.
So many. And I think this is where women too are saying, my hormones are out of whack, or my immune system feels like it's all over the place, or I can't lose weight because their body is chronically stressed from doing all of these fad diets or yo yo diets. When really, if you focused on managing stress, loving yourself, nourishing your body, you would bring the level of stress that you have down to a very manageable level. And then your body would feel
Yeah.
safe
Let go.
to let go
So,
of the weight,
exactly.
right? It's in a protective, I just think of
Yeah.
like constriction.
And that's what I talk about lots too with ladies is, hey, like if you're in a really high cortisol state or you're in a burnout state, we cannot be adding in super intense movement and calories restricted
Yeah.
diets right now. Like we're probably going to need to add food and cut the fasting. Like, you know,
Yes.
that and I think there's a
Yeah.
thing with time, like eating I call it a digestive break overnight.
Yeah.
So one of the
Yes.
best ways you can stabilize your insulin and cortisol is to eat breakfast, and you ladies know this, first thing in the morning. Within that 90 minutes of waking up, protein and fiber. and fiber there because there's a big protein kick and we're missing fiber,
Yeah.
right? We need protein and
Yeah.
fiber. So if that's our goal, but we have women fasting till 11, 12 a.m., thinking they need to give, but then they're eating at night until 10 p.m.
Because they're
Let's just
starving.
reverse that.
Yes.
Let's just instead
Yeah.
get you breakfast, get you lunch, maybe a midday snack, depending on your lifestyle, get you supper. Let's balance out those meals. Now, from supper time, if you stop eating at 7 p.m. and you don't eat until 7 a.m. the next day, you've just fasted for 12 hours.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
And it
is
didn't
healthy
hurt.
fasting.
Yeah.
It didn't bother you. You didn't know
No.
because you should be sleeping. Amy, give us real quick for treat for our audience. Give us a few favorite protein and fiber breakfast things that you love to recommend.
Ooh, yeah. So I'm a big I don't know, especially in the winter, I like warm, nice options, right? So if you're at home and you can do the thing, I love like a nice bowl of maybe some scrambled eggs, leftover, protein or like a meat from the night before. I chop in some veggies or some spinach in there, and then I just love a cup of berries and some seeds on top. Like, that's a yummy one. Protein oats is really simple. Your protein powder, your good quality oatmeal. And then I like to add in those, cinnamon, proven to balance blood sugar. A little apple cider vinegar, proven to balance blood sugar and support digestion. You can add in a little bit of berries into that as well. And then maybe some nut butter for some healthy fats. While that's cooking, I'll always do like egg whites or an egg in there. And it makes your oats so fluffy. Love that hack.
Oh, I love that. We'll be right over.
Yes.
That's a good tip.
And then
Okay.
if you're busy and you're on the go, right? And you're like, I need something quick and stabilizing but easy. Great. Get yourself a good quality protein powder. Throw in your mushrooms, throw in your greens powder, right? And if you're at home, make a smoothie with actual vegetables like zucchini, broccoli, cauliflower,
Celery
spinach,
every day. Get your
celery
celery in, friends.
in your smoothie, right? I do a balanced smoothie isn't fruit yogurt blend. Oh my goodness, right? A smoothie is a meal. So it is let's
Yeah.
start protein. Okay, get your scoop of protein powder in there. That's easy, that's done, right? Let's add 2 cups of veggies,
Yes.
right? And then a cup of berries. Berries are food as medicine in itself.
Yeah.
So maybe
Put some
2
hemp
cups of
hearts in
veggies.
there, a little bit of
Yes.
flax. I'm
A cup of
drooling.
berries, some seeds, right, for that extra
Yes.
fiber, maybe some nut butter. Now that's a meal.
And delicious. Like
And
all the
That's a
things
meal.
you've
And
described.
delicious.
Who doesn't want to wake up? I wake up dreaming about breakfast. I wake up dreaming
I do too.
about oatmeal or a smoothie and my matcha, which will come
And
after. But
Yeah.
I think that we have to train our brain. I mean, I think it is a report card to me that I wake up hungry.
yes, I was just going to say that.
Right?
Yeah.
If
Like,
you are waking up with no appetite, it is a telltale sign your cortisol's out of balance. And that's your stress.
yes.
Yeah. And you need to feed that digestive
Feed
fire.
yourself. Feed yourself. Start your day that
Mhm.
way. Thank you for sharing those. And if you go to Amy's
I
website
love
or
that.
work with her, there are thousands more because she's always making something, even just on your Instagram, you're always doing something crazy to your matcha or making
Yes.
some beautiful oatmeal
Yeah.
thing that you're adding different things there. And I love that about you, that it's so real. I have those things in my kitchen. I don't think to throw. And I do love a chia or an oatmeal in the morning. That's something that I do go for. And we need the variety in order to keep our brain interested and
Yeah.
excited for it. But the protein and the fiber in the morning, ladies,
Yes.
can be a great place
Yeah.
to start.
And then once you have that
Yeah.
foundation, then we can sneak in different, like I said,
Yes.
cinnamon or turmeric for inflammation or, bee pollen for iron support, like whatever you're needing.
Yes.
I get creative because I'm like, oh, I'm going to give my body this today or that. But if you're just starting, please just wake up and have 3 meals a day that have protein and
Yeah.
fiber in them and let that be enough.
Yeah.
And we will go therapeutic as we can, but just start. Breathe, sit down, eat, right? Like
Yes. Feed
foundations
yourself.
must come first.
Yeah. And if anybody who's listening is loving Amy's recipes like we are, Amy is releasing a new recipe book. So you can check that out. Really quickly, can you tell us what inspired this project and who it's
so
for?
this has been last year actually just a year ago, my grandma, who was my best friend, she ended up in the hospital about a year ago, and then she passed away in March, the day before my birthday. So the day
Oh,
before my
Amy,
30th
I'm so
birthday, I lost my
sorry.
best friend.
Mhm.
And my grandma, and anyone who knows me on a personal level knows, like, from childhood until last year, I spent at least 3 days a week at my grandma's house. I'd go for bubble baths, we'd have sleepovers, like, we were very close.
Oh,
So,
Mm.
that even when I'm, practicing functional health in the past 6 years, I was there 3 times a week for lunch with grandma, like, it was just a thing.
yeah.
And so
Aw.
when I lost her, it was devastating, and I decided that I was going to take she has so many recipes and, like, these comfort foods that my whole family loves, and I wanted to remake those recipes
Oh,
into nourishing forms, so I could take that. My grandma
Mm.
she loved to cook and loved to do that stuff, so I was like, "I'm gonna take those recipes and recreate them because I love being in the kitchen. I'm gonna recreate them in, like, a food as medicine way." So I can not
I love
only
it.
now
Mm.
provide it to my it was a really big gift for my mom and my auntie, was amazing.
yes.
And
Yes.
I'm like,
And
"I'm
every woman out there who I
yeah,
feel like that's my grandma as you're
right?"
talking, like,
Yeah.
goosebumps, like, what a
And so
gift.
I did, and it's more than recipes. I took over like, there's a huge section of recipes, but it's more than that. It's a guide for your health and your healing. So I really share my passion in that book. I teach you how to the front pages before we get to the recipes are all about how can you nourish without restricting yourself and still enjoy those family favorites and work with your body. There's a whole
Amazing.
section on food intolerances and how to navigate these, a whole section on whole food swaps, from flours to breads to pastas to everything. How can we swap those for whole foods? There's a whole kitchen toolkit section. So where I have pantry staples and fridge and freezer staples, all whole food stuff, right? Grocery
Amazing.
guides.
Mm.
And then we get into the recipes, and I've done different sections for breakfast and soups and salads and main meals, snacks, desserts, and I had desserts and treats because grandma had a lot of those recipes.
Yes.
But I redid all of those, and they're all using ingredients that support hormones and stress levels and digestion, inflammation, and then I even added in some like chronic symptoms, autoimmune supportive foods into those because I want whoever picks up this book to be able to use it. Every
Amazing.
recipe I redid is free of most of the common inflammatory food allergens. And if not, then I have a note for what you can swap. And as the
Mm.
recipes go through the book, I also have little sticky notes in there of food as medicine tips. So you can start to learn,
Mhm.
hey, I can add beets for this reason, or I can add, bee pollen for this reason, or nutritional yeast that's gonna make it taste cheesy and it's gonna, give my body B vitamins. Yes, please.
Yes,
Right?
please.
So
Okay,
Mhm.
it's
we
a
need to
really
go to the
practical
Ministry of
Okay.
Education and tell them that this is their new textbook and forget all of the garbage stuff that we're learning that is not making people live healthier lives and just give them that as their
Yeah.
new textbook. I'm gonna buy it for everyone I know. I'm so excited for you.
Mhm.
Congratulations.
I
Thank
love
you
that.
so much.
Mhm.
Yes.
Congratulations. That's awesome. Amy, if there's, somebody listening who wants to work with you and feels inspired by your story, where can they
For
find you?
sure. So I can be found. My email, I'll link it up for you guys. I'll give it to the girls and they can link that up. You can email me. My website is unbridledholistichealth.com. I am also on Instagram as my main platform. I'm not a techie girl. Like I know I run an online business, but social media is hard. So I'm Instagram. That's pretty much it at Unbridled Holistic Health. And you can message me on there. I love chatting. And so I offer free
Mm.
discovery calls where we kind of just dive in and we see what are you dealing with? What are your symptoms? And, from there, I want to make sure before we move forward, I never accept women into my practice until we've had that call. Because number one, I want to make sure that, what you're dealing with, I can support. And then number
Mhm.
two, if you feel my approach is for you. And if we both feel it's a good fit, then we can discuss options. And if we don't, I part of what I do is help women build a health team. And that's been from my own journey. Health
Mhm.
teams are so
Mhm.
incredible.
Yes.
So if I don't feel I can support you or I feel someone else maybe could better support you, I'm going to give you a referral to someone within my network. maybe I'm going to say, hey, go see Dr. Des, right? Or I'm going to say, maybe you need to start with like, I have this friend, this colleague who does a lot of nervous system, mind
I'm going to
rewiring.
teach you to meditate.
Yeah. Like, so
Whatever it is.
I bring that in not only to my practice, but also in that discovery call. So that's usually the best way. I'll send the link for that as well. And you can just click that and we can connect.
Beautiful. It sounds like that you're the
Awesome.
best friend so many people need in their life right now. And I hope, audience, if you're listening, if something resonated, Amy is somebody that I would love to hold your hand on your beginning of your journey with real food. Such a beautiful thing to share. Thank you so much for your time today. It was lovely to chat with you. I think we could do a whole other episode on autoimmunity, and maybe that's down the road. But until then, enjoy the farm. We'll be over for breakfast soon. And we're sending you so much love. Thank you for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us, Amy.
We hope that you learned something new here today. If anyone you know could benefit from what we shared in this episode, please share it with them. And if you're interested in adding mushrooms to your life, then you can use code PODCAST15 to save 15% on your entire order at EversioWellness.com.
If you haven't yet left us a rating and review, subscribed to this podcast, or followed our social media accounts listed in the show notes, we would so appreciate that. And if you're not sure where to start, you can take our Mushroom Wellness quiz. Thank you so much for sharing this moment with us. Until next time, be well.